Have you ever stopped to observe your legs, not just as members that carry you, but as a silent clock marking the rhythm of your future? Many believe that fatigue at the end of the day or slight swelling around the ankles are merely natural taxes of time, simple signs that the years are passing and the body is naturally tiring. However, what the science of longevity reveals is something much deeper and, at times, unsettling. Your legs function as your second heart, and they are sending urgent signals about your cardiovascular health right now. Ignoring a simple recurrent cramp or a subtle change in skin color could be the most dangerous mistake of your maturity, hiding a risk that directly threatens your physical independence. We are about to uncover how the strength of your calves dictates the power of your heart and your very survival. Imagine for a moment that your body is a complex building where the main motor resides at the top, but the pumps that keep the entire system operating are hidden in the lower floors. If these pumps fail or lose power, the central motor must work twice as hard, wearing out prematurely to keep the pressure stable until eventually it begins to fail systemically and dangerously. This is exactly what happens when we neglect the health of our lower limbs after the age of 60, transforming something perfectly treatable into a silent crisis of autonomy and personal safety. Today, you will discover a powerful opportunity to regain absolute control over your longevity by learning to decode the hidden language of your legs. We will explore how simple observations and specific movements can not only prevent sudden cardiac events, but restore the dignity of walking with firm steps for many decades. It is fascinating and at the same time worrying to note how society and even many health professionals treat the decline of leg strength as an isolated and inevitable event of human senescence. Frequently, complaints of heavy legs or a slight limp are dismissed as chronic fatigue, when in fact they represent the beginning of a circulatory collapse affecting millions of people silently around the world. After 60, the biological margin for error decreases drastically, transforming minor discomforts into critical indicators of vascular pathologies that can compromise global survival. The great danger lies in the invisibility of the initial symptoms, which manifest insidiously, allowing arterial diseases to take hold without resistance. Understanding why this subject is systematically ignored is the first fundamental step to reclaiming your autonomy and ensuring your heart is not overloaded. With advancing age, our circulatory system undergoes structural physiological transformations that require redoubled attention and constant vigilance from the individual. The reduction in vascular elasticity, known as arteriosclerosis, makes the arteries stiffer, which immensely hinders the passage of oxygenated blood to the body's most distant extremities, such as the feet and calves. Simultaneously, we face the challenge of sarcopenia, the progressive and silent loss of muscle mass that severely affects the lower limbs, weakening motor capacity and vital circulatory support. When the calf muscle withers, it loses its fundamental function of compressing the veins and pushing blood back upward against the force of Earth's gravity. This combination of arterial stiffness and muscle weakness creates a dangerous biological trap where blood stagnates in the legs, forcing the heart muscle into a Herculean effort. In addition to the large arteries, a subtle yet devastating decline occurs in microcirculation, which is the ability of tiny blood vessels to deeply nourish the peripheral tissues of the human body. This failure results in visibly slower healing, greater sensitivity to persistent pain, and an increased vulnerability to infections that the body once fought off with ease. It is crucial to understand that the presence of leg pain often indicates a systemic inflammatory state that is not restricted only to your lower limbs, but also resides in your coronary arteries. Thousands of seniors suffer daily from this silent inflammation, believing that a lack of vigor is an irremediable sentence of old age, when in fact it is a vascular cry for help. Recognizing that what happens in your feet is a faithful mirror of your heart is the master key to transforming your health today. The central conflict we face in maturity lies in a deeply mistaken and dangerous perception that persistent fatigue, swollen ankles, and muscle weakness in the legs are merely inevitable ornaments of old age. This silent error in judgment is what accelerates the functional decline of millions of people, as it interrupts the necessary vigilance over the peripheral circulatory system. By accepting pain while walking as something common, we are ignoring the cry for help from our arteries struggling against stiffness and progressive obstruction. The habit of surrendering to the sofa when legs feel heavy instead of understanding the mechanical cause of that discomfort creates a vicious cycle of inactivity that atrophies the body's natural hydraulic pumps. This neglect of peripheral signals is not just an oversight, but a direct negligence toward the very central survival of your heart. What is truly at stake here goes far beyond a simple difficulty in movement. We are talking about the preservation of your autonomy, your lucidity, and your fundamental dignity in your golden years. When the calf muscle stops performing its venous return function, the heart is forced to work under grueling pressure to maintain systemic blood flow, which drastically reduces your healthy life expectancy. The loss of power in the legs is the first domino to fall in a succession of events that lead to dependence on others and deep social isolation. Without the vigor needed to move safely, the risk of falls and serious fractures increases exponentially, marking the beginning of a terminal physical decline. Protecting the vascular health of your legs is the most powerful act of resistance to maintain total control over your biological destiny. To understand the magnitude of the importance of your legs in longevity, we must first demystify the idea that the heart is solely responsible for blood circulation throughout your entire body. In fact, modern medical science recognizes the calf muscle, technically known as the gastrocnemius, as our legitimate second heart, playing a fundamental and irreplaceable role in maintaining daily systemic life. This robust muscle functions as a powerful hydraulic pump that, with every step you take, compresses the deep veins and pushes venous blood with force and precision back toward the upper region of the torso. Without the continuous mechanical support of this second biological motor, oxygenated blood would have immense difficulty overcoming the resistance of gravity, resulting in a dangerous accumulation of fluids in the lower extremities, which severely overloads the main heart muscle, leading to premature and preventable wear. The mechanics of venous return is a miracle of biological engineering that depends almost exclusively on the functional integrity of your calves and the health of your internal venous valves. Imagine the effort your circulatory system must make to pump blood from your feet back to your chest, traveling a considerable distance against the constant force of gravity pulling everything down. When you walk or simply move your heels, the leg musculature acts like a piston, generating the necessary pressure for the valves to open and blood flow to rise freely without stagnating. If these muscles are weakened or atrophied due to a sedentary lifestyle or the natural aging process, the blood ends up dammed, causing that feeling of unbearable weight and fatigue that many seniors erroneously accept as an immutable characteristic of their daily lives. Sarcopenia, the progressive and silent loss of muscle mass, hits the lower limbs with special cruelty after age 60, drastically compromising the efficiency of this essential hydraulic pump. When the muscle volume of the calf decreases, the capacity for venous compression falls proportionally, leaving the central heart in a situation of extreme vulnerability and constant compensatory effort. This additional wear imposed on the heart is not something that happens overnight, but rather a cumulative process that mines the functional reserve of your entire cardiovascular system. It is fundamental to understand that maintaining the density and power of your leg muscles is not just a matter of aesthetics or raw physical strength, but a direct protection strategy for your heart, ensuring it does not have to beat with excessive force just to correct a preventable peripheral failure. The early identification of warning signs in your legs works as a true thermometer of your systemic health, allowing for rapid interventions before a serious problem becomes permanently established in your body. One of the first indicators that your arterial circulation is in danger is the careful observation of the skin and hair on your shins and feet during daily hygiene. If you notice that leg hair is disappearing for no apparent reason, or that the skin is becoming excessively thin, shiny, and cold to the touch, your body is screaming for immediate vascular help. These symptoms indicate that essential nutrients and oxygen are not properly reaching the extremities due to clogged arteries, signaling that the same clogging process may be occurring silently in the coronary arteries that feed your heart. We have reached a crucial point in our conversation, and I would like to pause to recognize you who actively seek knowledge to age with total autonomy and mental lucidity. If you identify with these cares or have noticed any of these signs lately, write the word autonomy in the comments so I know you are committed to your vascular health. Also, take this important moment to subscribe to our channel as we daily share the keys for you to maintain absolute control over your aging and avoid being a burden to your family. Your participation is fundamental for this message of hope and active prevention to reach more people who, like you, value the dignity of a full and independent life. Now let's continue exploring the physical signs that can save your life in surprising ways. An extremely important clinical sign that should never be ignored is called intermittent claudication, which manifests as deep muscle pain or discomfort in the legs during a simple walk. Unlike common joint pain, this pain arises after walking a certain distance and disappears almost instantly when you stop to rest for a few brief minutes. This phenomenon happens because the leg muscles demand more oxygen during exertion, but the narrowed arteries cannot meet this metabolic demand, causing a kind of angina of the legs that is a faithful mirror of what can occur in your heart. If you feel the need to stop walking at the mall or the park because of this burning in your calves, know that this is a clear warning that your circulatory system is operating at its limit. In addition to pain while walking, observing your nails and the temperature of your feet provides valuable clues about the integrity of your peripheral blood flow and coronary health. Toenails that become excessively thick, dull, brittle, or stop growing at the usual rate are classic signs that microcirculation is severely compromised by a lack of oxygen. Similarly, feeling that your feet are constantly freezing, even on hot days, or noticing that they change color to a pale or bluish tone when elevated indicates vascular insufficiency that requires immediate professional attention. These small physical details are, in fact, the first chapters of a story that could end in a heart attack or stroke if preventive care and proper strengthening are not started as soon as possible. The biological connection between leg health and heart health is so intimate that doctors often consider peripheral artery disease as a reliable marker of risk for major cardiac events. If the arteries carrying blood to your feet are showing plaques of fat and stiffness, there is an immense statistical probability that the arteries in your heart and brain are suffering the same process. Neglecting the treatment of poor circulation in the legs is like ignoring a fire in the basement of a house, believing the flames will never reach the roof where the main engine is located, understanding that your body is an integrated system of communicating vessels allows you to treat the root cause of the problem, strengthening the base to ensure the top continues to function with maximum efficiency for a long time. We often hear that light walking is the ideal exercise for the elderly, but modern longevity science shows us that resistance training is the true game changer. To reverse vascular weakness and strengthen your second heart, you need exercises that challenge the leg muscles, especially the calves and quadriceps, promoting the hypertrophy necessary for the hydraulic pump. Strength exercises, such as heel raises or controlled squats, are much more effective at improving venous return and arterial health than simply walking at a slow pace. By increasing muscle density, you improve insulin sensitivity, reduce systemic inflammation, and create a functional reserve that protects your joints, ensuring you maintain your mobility and independence even in the face of the natural challenges of biological aging. The practical applicability of these concepts can begin today through simple habits you can incorporate into your daily routine without needing complex equipment or constant trips to the gym. Practicing heel raises while brushing your teeth or waiting for the coffee to brew is an excellent way to keep the calf pump active and efficient throughout the day. Another powerful technique is to dedicate a few minutes to rest with your legs elevated above the line of your heart, mechanically facilitating venous return and reducing pressure on the valves that work all day long. Furthermore, observing the color and temperature of the skin on your feet every morning should become a self-care ritual, as important as checking your blood pressure or glucose levels, because your body speaks through these details. Finally, maintaining ideal blood flow depends on a delicate balance between proper hydration, strict control of sodium intake, and strategic alternation of postures throughout the day. Dehydrated blood becomes more viscous and harder to pump through narrowed arteries, significantly increasing the risk of forming dangerous clots and thromboses that can migrate to the lungs or brain. Avoiding sitting for prolonged periods without moving your feet is vital, as blood stagnation is the main enemy of vascular health in old age, generating inflammation and permanent damage to vein walls. Always remember that every conscious movement you make with your legs is a direct investment in the longevity of your heart, ensuring the vital fluid of life continues to circulate with the pressure and purity necessary to sustain your dignity. Mr. Alberto was always an optimistic man, believing that swollen ankles at dusk were just the price of age, without realizing that his legs were sending critical signals that his circulatory system was collapsing. Unfortunately, this neglect culminated in a sudden cardiac event that could have been avoided if he had cared for his second heart with proper attention. On the other hand, Mrs. Maria, upon noticing the same weakness, incorporated calf exercises and hydration under specialized guidance. Within a few months, she reduced her blood pressure medication and regained the vitality to play with her grandchildren, proving that active care transforms old age into power. If you've made it this far, congratulations on investing in your future. Share this video with your family so they too can discover how to protect their own autonomy. Together, we will ensure that those we love maintain the dignity of walking with firm steps. It is fundamental to understand that the human body does not age randomly or chaotically, as if the loss of vigor were a cruel biological lottery. In fact, our physical structure functions as a cumulative record, where every neglected habit or every care exercised over the decades dictates the exact rhythm of our longevity. Functional decline is never a sudden event, but rather a progressive process manifesting through subtle signs we often choose to ignore out of fear or inattention. Understanding that the choices made today regarding your leg health will have a profound impact on your ability to maintain autonomy 10 years from now is to raise consciousness about your very existence. Old age should not be a story of inevitable losses, but rather one of intelligent and dignified management of your vital biological resources. It is perfectly understandable to feel a chill in your soul realizing that such discrete signals in the legs can hide real dangers for your heart. The fear of losing the freedom to walk or becoming dependent on others' care is a legitimate human reaction to biological fragility. However, the true power of conscious maturity lies in the ability to transform that fear into effective preventive action. Science brings us the comfort that it is never too late to start strengthening your calves and clearing the path for your vitality. Even if you have spent years in a sedentary lifestyle, the human body possesses extraordinary resilience, ready to respond to simple routine changes like proper hydration and muscle pumping exercises. Old age does not have to be a period of limitations, but a phase of strengthening where every conscious step protects your heart and renews hope. Ignoring the silent cries of your legs today can paint a future where freedom of choice becomes a distant and painful memory. If nothing is done to restore the efficiency of your calves, the progressive loss of mobility will be just the first step on a downward staircase toward absolute family dependence. Without proper blood pumping, cognitive decline accelerates. Hospitalizations become routine, and the risk of serious vascular complications increases dramatically. Imagine yourself confined to an armchair, needing help for the most basic tasks of your routine. In contrast, the person who acts today, strengthening their physical base and monitoring their signals, ensures a scenario of vigor and dignity. This individual maintains the ability to travel and walk without pain, preserving the freedom not to be a burden to those they love, and keeping their autonomy intact for many decades. Perhaps the most counterintuitive and surprising point of this journey is discovering that muscle strength in the legs is one of the greatest predictors of brain longevity and cognitive health in seniors. Recent studies reveal that the effort of the calves releases chemicals into the bloodstream that act directly on protecting neurons, something few people associate with a daily walk. Another revelation that often shocks many is the fact that the sudden disappearance of hair on the shins is not just an aesthetic sign of age, but a red alert that oxygen has stopped reaching where it should. It is this kind of hidden information that differentiates those who just get older from those who master their own bodies with expertise and intelligence. By understanding that your legs are true centers of vascular intelligence, you stop seeing exercise as a burden and start seeing it as the essential fuel for your mind. To put this knowledge into practice immediately, start by performing a detailed daily inspection of your legs, observing any changes in temperature, color, or skin texture, treating this habit as a sacred ritual of active prevention. Incorporate the pumping exercise into your routine, performing heel raises several times a day, even while doing simple tasks, to ensure your second heart remains always active and efficient. At the end of the day, adopt the strategic technique of resting with your legs elevated above heart level for 15 minutes, mechanically facilitating venous return and relieving pressure on overloaded valves. Learn to differentiate common muscle pain from fatigue versus vascular warning pain, acting quickly when you notice persistent signs of discomfort. These routine adjustments are powerful tools that return to you absolute control over your autonomy and long-lasting physical vitality. Throughout this journey, we have understood that your legs are not mere supports, but vital motors that sustain your heart's pulse and the flame of your independence. We understood that every sign from swelling to hair loss is a communication from your circulatory system asking for attention and immediate strengthening to avoid greater declines. From now on, you possess the map and the tools to transform your walk into an act of direct cardiac protection, ensuring that dignity and autonomy accompany every one of your firm steps. Old age does not have to be synonymous with fragility or dependence, but rather the peak of your conscious power over your own health today. Which of these signs have you noticed most in yourself? Share your experience in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and send this video to someone you wish to see walking firmly by your side.